Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lorelei Shamayo. This is Metaphysical Empowerment and Wellness Events. We host events throughout the Northwest and online. We're in Seattle, Portland, Salem, and Eugene. We interview our practitioners and vendors so you get a chance to know who we are before you meet us at an event. I'm here today interviewing Kendra Jonas. Kendra, it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much, Lorelei. It's such a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So please share with us a bit about you and your work. What is it that you do and what you share at our events?
Sure. Well, I'm a channeler. I channel my spirit guide. Her name's Melody. She resides in the fifth dimension, and she connects with our oversoul group, which the human oversoul group, which is like versions of us and as our higher self. So she basically helps us by tapping into our higher self and accessing that awareness. Because sometimes, we all get blocks here. We lose touch with who we truly are and what our real purpose is. And she really helps kind of shine light on, a different perspective. So I've been channeling her since 2012. That's when I became fully clairvoyant of her through a whole bunch of spiritual awakenings that I had. And I'm passionate about orgonite and trying to help eliminate all the electromagnetic frequency exposures that we're getting with the rollout of 5G and our cell phones, computers, all the electronics are really new to humanity. We haven't ever lived in a time where we've been bombarded with so much electromagnetic radiation. So I've learned that orgonite is a technology that actually helps reverse that. It puts more, it's called negatively charged ions, which is the very good ions that help us with our health and helps us raise our vibration. So I make orgonite and I sell that at the booth as well. I'm wearing one of my pendants right now. And it just makes me feel really good. I have a real connection with stones and the way that technology works. So I kind of do both. I do channeling and I make the orgonite, and I've written a book as well that's channeled information. It's called The Link, and I sell that at the booth as well.
No, that's great. I have so many questions about so many different parts of these. I'm like, maybe it's simple ones. Maybe let's start with just a little bit about orgonite. So I'm familiar in general what it is. I have some pieces of orgonite. Maybe could you say a little bit for people, like what is it? Like, and what are the components and just a bit of what they do?
Yeah. Well, this technology started, it was founded by Wilhelm Reich, who was an immigrant from Germany during the war. So it was around the 1940s when he came to the United States. And he was a medical doctor. And he discovered the ability to harness what he calls orgone energy from the atmosphere. So he created a machine that literally could pull the positive energy from, which is the life force energy. That's what orgone energy is. It's like chi, or the life force energy. So he would pull it from the environment, and he would be able to extract it and then use it in different areas where there were like droughts. So he found that where there were droughts or areas where the weather wasn't conductive, to growing things, and the soil was very bad, it was because it lacked the orgone energy. So when he brought that machine to the different areas, suddenly it would start to rain, and he was moving energy with this technology. His patients who had terminal cancer and other illnesses would sit for 20 minutes into the orgone accumulator machine, and their diseases were reversed. So of course the FDA found out about this and said all kinds of things, that he was, breaking laws and all this and that. So they locked him away in prison for pretty much his whole life. And he ends up dying one day before he was supposed to be released from prison. And many people think, that they killed him, that he was poisoned or something, because it was really odd how he could never even get released. His books were all burned in the United States, but many of his books in Germany survived. So some people got a hold of those books and translated it and found out how to use that technology in smaller ways, but to create pyramids and pendants and things like that. And it's been detected with a electromagnetic frequency detector or a radiation detector that it truly does remove radiation from the area. Like if you put a tower buster, which is what I make tower busters, they're made of crystals that it's a crystal that you wrap with a Tesla coil or a copper coil, and you encompass that in resin, epoxy resin, and it activates the crystal, and you put metals in there as well. And so you put that piece on top of the smart meter or next to your computer, and you test it with an EMF detector, and literally the radiation levels change. It totally makes it disappear. So I've seen the results myself. I feel totally good when I'm around this stuff, and when I make it, it just makes you feel alive and healthy. It's helped me reverse some illness problems, some health problems I've had. So I'm totally in love with Orgonite.
It's great. It's great. Thank you. Yeah, that's lovely. I know the pieces I've seen, right? There's crystals and stones and metals. And by the way, you said negative ions earlier, just as an example for people. I believe that the negative ions, it's like something that we all can experience when we're by a running stream or a waterfall or something like that. That feeling that we have, like that's what they're creating in the environment around us.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Exactly. Yeah, it transmutes, the positively charged ions, which is what the radiation really is. It produces so much of this in the environment that's really harmful to us. And Wilhelm Reich called it deadly orgone energy, is what he called that. They didn't have electronic devices and things back then, but he knew that air pollution was causing this deadly orgone energy, and so he would reverse that and literally transmute it, and the skies clear up. I mean, chemtrails literally dissipate when we put these tower busters that I make. When you put them within 30 feet of a cell tower, the chemtrails that they're dispensing, they can't spread out. They literally just sort of break apart and go away. So it's really powerful. You wouldn't think this little piece could do all that, but I've seen it. It really does.
Great. It's great. So then wind back to your channeling a little bit. So I don't remember. So what did you say about how you mentioned that there was that one phase at which you were finally fully open, but what was your process of opening? Like, how did you first realize that this was something that was happening, or that you opened to be curious about to open? Like, what was all that about for you?
Yeah, well, I've always been very dominant in my right brain. I kind of grew up as a different kind of a child. My dad was very artistic and ran a business that was, graphic design, and I sort of, picked up on that same thing. And I think by being really dominant in our right brain, it makes the way that you see the world very different, and it literally opens us up more easily to the unconscious or subconscious mind. So I was always kind of wired this way, but I also had numerous ET contact experiences growing up, and especially in my 20s and 30s. And so with those visitations, there was a lot of work that they were doing with me. They showed me my past lives. I had a lot of out-of-body experiences, so I learned about multidimensionality. And they were doing something to kind of shift my vibration, or change my DNA somehow. I don't really know, but there was just a lot of interesting experiences I had that preceded the ability to then see and hear very clearly my spirit guide. So that window just sort of opened for me like a portal. About January 2012 was kind of when it all happened, and it was really incredible. And it was a little hard to integrate at first. I kind of ended up getting sick. I've been kind of dealing with calibrating my energy, off and on. I really have to watch what I eat. I have to really, get plenty of sleep, take care of myself, because it is hard to, be in a third dimensional body, but to pull in frequencies from, a higher dimensional being. So it's kind of been a challenge, but it's been really wonderful. It's like, it's really been amazing. I love doing it. It's very relaxing. I love to be able to just, I basically fall asleep. I go into an altered state, and I scoot aside, and I literally feel myself kind of go over to the left side, and Melody comes in and she speaks, and has helped people with lots of different things.
I was wondering if you could talk just a little bit about some of the process of your sessions. I know I've seen you at events where people have headphones on, and can you share a little of just what that's like? What's happening?
Oh yeah. So we had this system where we have the headphones so that it could record the session, and then people could receive an email right afterwards. But boy, we've had the hardest time getting our computer. My husband and I, he goes with me. We've had the hardest time getting the computer to turn off the sound of the outside, so it doesn't pick up all the sounds. So we're trying to filter that so that we just hear our voices. So the recording part hasn't been very successful, but now people are just turning on their their phones, recording that way. And if it's not super noisy, then they can do it that way. But yeah, because there's so much information that comes through that I don't want people to miss that. Sometimes it's nice to go back because it's so different from, having conversations from our perspective. Melody will get into sometimes past life stuff or the bigger picture and how our multidimensional aspects of ourselves are working with us down here. And there's just so many layers that some people, haven't heard of that stuff before. So it's nice to kind of get it, audio recorded for access later.
Oh, that's great. No, that makes a lot of sense to me. Now I understand. Yeah, there's so much that comes in. There's often only so much people can integrate right in that moment.
Exactly. Yeah. Even for me, like when I channel for myself, I'll just put on my recording and I'll go into the altered state, and Melody will know what I'm needing to know in the moment, and I'll go back. And even when I re-listen to it like a couple days or a week later, you still get more out of it sometimes, when you go back.
That's great. And so do people come to you with very specific types of questions, or are they much more open of like, what are the messages for me right now? Like, what do sessions look like for you?
Yeah, usually people are drawn to exactly where they need to be. So it seems like people have been working on something or wrestling with something. Usually, sometimes it's relationship stuff or financial issues, health questions, just all kinds of things. Yeah, but and when the questions are more specific, I think that people can get more out of it because there's in the higher dimensionals, the beings that we work with, our spirit guides, it's very much a free will system. So we really have to ask specifically for what we want in order to get that information. A lot of times people feel so stuck and lost and, but they forget to ask. They forget to ask for help or to reach out. And they really can't intervene unless we do that. So asking questions and even, people don't need to seek a channeler or a psychic to get information. They can literally just ask on their own and seek, and they'll get the answers if they ask. Everybody does. They may not be aware their guides can hear them, or they may not be clairaudient or clairvoyant, but they have them. I guarantee everybody has them, and they'll hear the questions always.
Yeah, so in that way, I think we're, just to play with these words, like there's a way that we're all so powerful. We can choose what we don't want to let in, and we can choose what we're willing to have come in. We can request and receive. And then often a practitioner is helping us be open in a way that we haven't been open on our own.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're just facilitating really what people already have the ability to do. We're just facilitators, and healers are the same. We're helping the person to be able to heal themselves or access aspects of themselves that maybe they didn't know how before.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, if people want to learn more about you and connect with you, where can they find you on the web?
My website is my name. It's www.kendrajonas.com. And my email is connect@kendrajonas.com.
And just maybe it would probably be good for you to spell out your whole name. They can see Kendra on the computer, but spell your last name for people so they know how to find you.
Okay, thanks. Jonas, it's JONAS.com, KendraJonas.com.
Great. You were going to say another place that people could find you, I think?
Well, at your events.
Definitely at our events. Okay, no, it sounded like there was something else you're going to share. That's great.
Oh, my email address is, if anybody has questions or wants to email me, my email is connect, CONNECT, @KendraJonas.com. And I'm happy to answer any questions or help any way I can.
That's great. I know. Do you do any coaching of, or really like support groups for people that have experience with ETs and just navigating that process?
That's a wonderful question. I'm really trying to get into that area more and more. I wrote a book called The Link, and it's all downloaded information, and it's amazing. And when I first got that information and wrote the book, I really didn't understand it. I was a student the whole time. But these principles are so valuable, especially when I went through my own illness and recovery process. I was so sick, I couldn't even walk. I was bedridden. It took me about 6 months, and I was in a wheelchair. And this happened right after I wrote the book. So it's interesting because it forced me to access the principles in that book to aid in my own healing. So I'm starting to realize it's more than just writing this book. I'm really supposed to help teach these principles and help people integrate them, just like I've had to do. And what they are is they're basically the true aspects of who we are as a soul. Like once we leave this planet and we pass over, or if we lose something in our life, like, you know, a soldier that goes to war and he comes back and he's paralyzed or something. He no longer feels like the hero that society sort of told him, you know, that's what a hero is. So he has to figure out, well, who am I then? So these principles get us back to, you know, the root of who we are without, you know, without the labels and the roles and the ego definitions. And it's our true self. So it just basically gives you these 7 principles that never go away. It's permanent. You're always a love. You're a pure, conscious, energetic being. You're whole. You're connected to all that is. You're infinitely creative. You are infinite and eternal, and you're multidimensional. I'm just kind of listing all the 7 in there really quick, because I know we don't have much time, but I really want to work with those principles to help people, you know, be able to access them and help them become, you know, more aware of who they truly are.
It's great. I'm so glad I asked that question.
Thank you.
All right, great. Well, for those of you watching and listening, Kendra, it's been great having you. And then everyone else can find out more about us and about our events and where to meet with Kendra at MetaphysicalEmpowermentEvents.com. We look forward to being with you. Thank you again, Kendra.
Thank you so much, Lorla. I really appreciate you. Have a great day.
You too.